This episode of Midco Sports Magazine is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
I always knew that there was something special about Grandpa, like being from, even when I was little, people thought, oh, you're Rich Greeno's granddaughter. You could just tell that he was well respected in the community and well respected in the track and field community in South Dakota.
Hello, welcome again to Midco Sports Magazine. Spring has sprung. It is supposed to be track and field season, but of course, unfortunately for all those athletes, it is not. And there's just something ancient and simple about the sport of track and field, something special about the people that love to go out and run and jump and throw stuff around and put in the work and get really good at it. And we've got a couple of stories this week on that note. Rich Greeno was a coach and a mentor to thousands of high school and college athletes, and some of them have come together now to honor him in a unique way. So that story is coming up in a bit. But first, we catch up with two college stars from the Dakotas, Chris Nilsen, the great pole vaulter at the University of South Dakota, and Payton Otterdahl, the outstanding shot putter from North Dakota State University. Both were getting ready to make a run at the Olympic Games this summer, but with the Games postponed for a year, what happens now to our heroes? Here is Elena Lancet with Chris and Payton.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that these last few weeks have probably been a roller coaster of emotions for you. What was your initial reaction when you heard that the Olympics are going to be postponed to 2021?
It was a little bit of, obviously being upset about it, but also realizing that it's probably for the best just because of overall safety. And, I'm glad the governing bodies are doing what should be done when it comes to that kind of thing. But I think it wasn't really super surprising because I think not 2 weeks prior to the Olympics being postponed, the NBA canceled their season, and a lot of the European soccer leagues canceled their season, and just everything was shutting down. And I was like, if such big corporations and sports leagues are shutting down, I guarantee the Olympics are going to shut down. Then 2 weeks later, so they did. But I think it's a good thing. It's tough, but it's good.
Health and safety of all the workers and all the athletes are obviously like the main concern, but it's kind of disappointing not being able to compete. Are you seeing this as a positive, giving you more time to train, or were you ready to go this summer?
I think it's both. I think that it's not only giving myself time to train, it's also giving my fellow athletes some more time to train. And there's some injuries, back to health, or if you're not in the right state of mind, it's a good time to get back on that. You've got a good amount of time for it now. But at the same time, I think I was doing well. I've never jumped 19 more than one time indoors, and I ended up doing that, I think 3 or 4 times this indoor season. So I was really happy with it, and everything was going really smoothly, and I was ready to go in the outdoor season.
You're still training at USD. What is that looking like right now?
It's been kind of a make do with what we can when we can. So like I said, a lot of the high school track stuff, buying your own med ball, kind of doing that. If you can sneak in and get a pole, so you can do like some pole carries, like some long run pole carries, then I guess there's that. But I think it's just kind of adapting to what you can use when there isn't really anything you can use.
We'll be thinking about you and rooting for you through that journey.
Thank you very much.
Payton, thank you so much for joining us. Crazy couple of weeks. I know we were just talking and you said, I can't feel sorry for myself because you guys are all in the same boat and a lot of people have it a lot worse than you do right now. So can you speak to that and how you're kind of handling things right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just taking one day at a time, trying to make everything feel as normal as possible. Right now, it's not really much leaving the house. The only time that I do is to train, and that's just to go throw. I've been able to lift, luckily, in my garage. My roommate has a weight set, so that's been a real lifesaver. With the weather improving here in Fargo, I have been able to get out and throw. Not at my usual location. We can't throw at the university anymore, so I've been throwing at middle school in Fargo, and that's been working really nicely. So I know that for me as a shot putter, I don't need much space. All I need is strip of sidewalk and an open field, or luckily or hopefully if there's some throwing circles, that'll work as well. But I mean, some event people like pole vault, I know that they're really struggling. You need a whole runway and pads to land on. So I think that I'm lucky in the sense that I'm able to train relatively normal. When I first heard about it, I'd kind of known that it was going to happen. They canceled NCAAs, and when countries started pulling out of the Olympics, I knew that it's only a matter of time before they either cancel or postpone it, and I'm very glad to see that they did postpone it. It just shifts the focus to next year. I mean, it gives everybody a whole big head start on hopefully qualifying and making the Olympics.
And looking forward to next year, you guys are all in the same boat now. What is your biggest goal to improve or to get better at now that you do have an extra year of training?
Really, it's about getting that experience at the professional level. This is still just my rookie year coming out of college, where I'm now a little fish in a big pond. So just to be able to keep competing against those guys, those top guys, and have that opportunity, I think will help a lot. Other than that, it's just, the same old, get faster, stronger, bigger, improve my technique. That's really all you can do in an event like shot put.
We're really excited to watch you, and we're rooting for you and wishing you the best through this next year.
Thank you very much.
Well, up next, he gave his best to them for 50 years as a coach and a mentor, and now they are honoring him with a monument in a special place.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to Midco Sports Magazine. I'm Alex Seinert. In any other year, this portion of the spring sports calendar would be full of high school and college track and field meets across the Dakotas. Not surprisingly, this is also the time of year that Rich Greeno loved best, a chance for the longtime coach and teacher to see his athletes start to find their form and realize their potential. But the thing about Rich is that he was much more than just a coach to so many of the high school and college runners that he mentored over a career that spans 6 decades, and that's a big reason why his impact continues to be felt in the years after his passing. Legacy is defined as something handed down from one generation to the next. Maybe it's a value or a tradition, or maybe it's a person and everything they stood for.
I always knew that there was something special about Grandpa, like being from, even when I was little, people thought, oh, you're Rich Greeno's granddaughter. You could just tell that he was well respected in the community and well respected in the track and field community in South Dakota.
In the history of South Dakota high school athletics, few coaches were more respected or had more success than Rich Greeno. Starting in 1950, his teaching and coaching career spanned 6 decades, highlighted by a 22-year championship-laden stint at Sioux Falls Lincoln. Greeno's Lincoln teams won 19 state championships and earned 12 state runner-up finishes. And while all those triumphs earned Rich national awards and a place in numerous school and state Hall of Fames, the end result was far from the only thing he cared about.
He had such great success, but it was more about being good sports. You are a team. We need to work together. Those were really important to him.
Don't let the valleys get too deep or the mountains too high, but kind of keep an even tempo and enjoy those things.
We weren't always going to win, but if you're the first runner or the last runner, you're always helping out each other. He kind of brought that over to life a little bit too, in your community, in your family, and your workplace. What can I do to help out my team?
He surrounded himself with coaches, whether it be cross country or track, who were good people. They were great coaches, and he recognized that they were good coaches and he let them coach. He knew how to motivate kids, he knew how to motivate coaches, and that's a magical combination when you can get it all on the same page.
Are you ready?
Even though Rich coached for over 50 years at the high school and college levels, his methods didn't change much from generation to generation.
He taught everybody the same thing, consistently. The stories really don't change, just the people that were impacted. So even something as simple as how you hold your hands when you're running. So many people clench, and he was trying to get us not to do this. So he said this, and then he said even to pretend, or actually in some cases, some people he would say to actually put a potato chip there and don't break the potato chip.
He was not a hollerer, not a screamer. He had high expectations.
Work hard on her, we'll be okay.
He was just very frank with you. He said, this is what I'd like you to do, and this is why I'd like you to do it, and this is what I think will be the result of it. You do what he said, and man, it worked out just like he thought. And so from an athlete's perspective, it was real easy to trust him because he knew what he was talking about. What he said was going to happen probably happened.
Along with his dedication to coaching, teaching, and fitness, Greeno still made time to volunteer in a variety of organizations, including committing over 40 years to running the summer track and field programs for the Sioux Falls Parks and Rec Department. But busy as he was, there was never a question of what he valued most.
He's very much a family man. When I went to college, he wrote me a letter. Well, I take that back. He typed me a letter because he's notorious for having terrible handwriting. He typed me a letter and then always signed a little bit at the end. I got a letter at least every week.
Rich lived a full life, and as he neared his personal finish line, many of the people he impacted, former runners he coached and students he taught, felt compelled to honor the man that had meant so much to them.
Maybe about 8 months before Rich passed away, a couple of people had talked to him about maybe trying to do a tribute here in town, something of the like. He was a very humble man, didn't like a lot of hoopla. So at that time, he kind of shied away from that a little bit.
It wasn't about himself. It was more about the team and the kids.
He was a pretty humble, private, quiet person, but just that they were so fired up about finding some way to honor him was pretty special.
And then they talked to him again a couple of months before he passed, and he was more acceptable to something. We just hadn't decided on what yet.
After Rich's passing at the age of 88 in the spring of 2017, one potential idea of how to honor the beloved coach began to take shape.
A really good friend of mine from middle school and high school, Zon Tran, called me on the phone one night and he said, "Hey, we need to do something for Coach Greeno." I kind of thought about that too, but I said I had no idea where to even go with it. Zon goes, "Well, what about if we did a statue?" I said, "Okay, keep talking. What are you thinking?" He said he had known Darwin Wolf, and he was a sculptor from a previous thing. He said, "I think we could talk Darwin into doing it." And so from there, it just kind of started to roll.
Wolf signed on to what came to be known as the Greeno Memorial Project, and he soon began work on a miniature version of Rich's statue.
He's kind of got that gentle soul like my dad. So I said, it's too bad you didn't get to meet him because they would have hit it off.
I get to be with some very great people who are describing other great people. And I think having learned what Coach Greeno was all about, it's another situation where I feel like it's an honor to sculpt these people. We're just about ready to say the face is nailed and done, and I'm going to finish up the hands, and it's a finished sculpture.
His sculpture was just amazing. It looks a lot like him.
It's him in his prime. You can just picture him out for a run with his Lincoln High athletes. He's got his Greeno sweatshirt. Run out of the comfort zone is on the back. Even though you can't see it, I know that that's what it says on the back, but he's got his Greeno sweatshirt on. And that's how I picture him. That's how I want to remember him.
Taking a miniature and turning it into a life-size bronze sculpture is a timely and expensive process. But those hurdles didn't stop Rich's former runners.
We had no idea what we were doing when we started. Thankfully, Allie came on board because we knew the hardest part of this was going to be the fundraising.
All the people that were passionate about doing something to memorialize Greeno's legacy were sitting around this table and saying, okay, what can you help with? What can you help with? We felt like, okay, let's do this. Let's take the leap of faith and let's hope that we can find these people to come out and support the project.
Our goal is $170,000, and that's a lot of money. And so to have somebody with Allie's skill set come on board, and then us reaching out from there, and her reaching out, and pretty soon, you know, I think we're $4,000 away from meeting that ultimate goal, which is what we started for. It's absolutely amazing.
And it was rare that we found somebody that said, you know, no, I don't really want to give, or that just didn't respond. Most people did, and surprisingly in a big way.
At the end of the day, relationships matter most, and Grandpa was great at that. Building relationships with students and athletes, and they just feel that special connection to him. And it's really humbling to see that they want to give back and be a part of this.
With the funds in place, the bronze statue in the final stages, and approval from the city of Sioux Falls for its permanent home, the Greeno Memorial Project is now nearing completion. But with Dedication Day looming, Emotions are mixed among the group that has put unlimited care into preserving the memory of a man who meant so much to them.
There'll be people that come back for that day. I know teammates of mine, they're in the same boat I am, I think. Some of them that I've talked to, like, man, this is gonna be hard. And I said, it's already hard. But I said, it'll be a pretty cool thing.
We sit around the table, and when we meet as a small group and when we walk away, we hug each other and say, what am I gonna do when it's done? Even though it's been just a little over a year, it's been such a big part of our lives to be able to have something like this come back. You know, something that you realize now as an adult that was such a big part of who we are now and what we can leave as our own legacy.
Rich's statue will soon be placed by the footbridge that stretches over the Big Sioux River near Pasley Park. Not by coincidence, it'll stand 1 mile away from Lincoln High School at the end of a familiar training route for the legendary coach and past, present, and future runners alike. Fitting that the man who always ran alongside his teams with a smile on his face gets to continue to do so for generations to come, promoting that legacy of teamwork, fitness, and kindness, even after he's gone.
We want those generations to know who Coach Greeno was, because even though he's not with us now, the things he taught are still here. It's just they're passed on through different people. He had touched so many people in so many ways and continues to do so. And that's what that statue is going to remind everybody of.
Coach Greeno's statue was originally scheduled to be dedicated on May the 7th, but due to the coronavirus pandemic, that event has now been moved back indefinitely. To stay updated on when a new dedication date will be set, check out the Rich Greeno Tribute Facebook page or go to richgreenomemorial.org. On a personal note, I was blessed to get to know Rich in the later part of his life as a fellow member of the Howard Wood Dakota Relay's Board of Directors and, more importantly, as a member of Rich's family through marriage. He was as kind and as gracious a man as I've ever met, and it was an honor to help tell his story.
Up next, our little tribute to all of you, the people with the stories that we love to tell. Our Midco Sports Magazine video yearbook when we come back.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Thanks to our producer Josh Muntz for doing all of the heavy lifting around here on Midco Sports Magazine, and congratulations to he and his wife, by the way, on a new baby. Thank you as well to all of you who have let us into your lives for a little bit to tell your stories. Here's a quick look back at our latest season, and we will see you in the fall of 2020 for a new go-around of Midco Sports Magazine.
Positive, passion, and persistence, guys. You have been unbelievable with your persistence. We got to keep doing it though, okay? And it pays off. If you find a way to keep doing that through tough times, it pays off not only in basketball but in life. Let's get after it, have a lot of fun for each other, okay? Bring it in. Team on three. 1, 2, 3.
You know, the nice thing about fly fishing is you can backpack into mountain streams and lakes, and you just don't see as many people, and it's just beautiful.
It shows a lot about how much I love the game and how much, you know, it's been a part of my life and molding my whole story.
Just happened to look down by my front tire and just kind of something caught my eye, and I was like, well, what's that? It's this horseshoe. And it's not bent, there's still nails in it.
So he said, here's my sign. He said, Evie left me this horseshoe.
Finding that horseshoe was a godsend.
I appreciate that people remember him. I appreciate the impact he had on people. That 20 years later, a guy from Piedmont, South Dakota is still being talked about. It's amazing.
I could have portrayed myself as the victim, but I chose not to. I chose to portray myself as a fighter and a survivor and a warrior and a strong, deaf woman of steel.
Why do we compete?
It's in our nature to endure,
to succeed, to never stop striving.
to meet the challenges of the day head on,
to pour our souls into the effort,
to grow, to be better,
to put forth all we have,
our very hearts to the cause of greatness,
to never stop,
never settle,
never back down.
Why do we compete? Because there is no good enough.
Because we'll never know who we are until we've cast aside who we aren't.
Weakness is not in the defeated. It is in those who have never tried.
Failure's not in the loss, but in never having played.
True victory is in the challenge itself, in the midst of the pounding, the burning, and the passion to succeed.
The greatest conquest of all, that of the competitor over oneself.
There is the purpose. There is the truth.
That is why we compete.
These are the stories on Midco Sports Magazine.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.